There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why I am on the trail of the Nephilim. I am your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli, coming to you from an undisclosed location somewhere deep in the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains. We're going to talk about two things: the fact that scientists are able to coax the DNA out of the dire wolf and bring it back to life, allegedly, and of course, an update on the Giza Pyramid, which I think you'll find fascinating. But first, a word from our trusted sponsor. It turns out the key to losing weight and keeping it off is not in carbs or fat or even in probiotic-rich foods. Nope. The end game of having a healthy weight, as well as more energy and a long, healthy life, comes down to a specific switch you can flip in your body to flush out unnecessary calories. Dr. Stephen Gundry is calling this caloric bypass. And by activating this specific process in your body, he has seen thousands, that's right, thousands of people dramatically improve their health, even at age 50 and beyond. This includes losing weight, getting tons more energy, and returning to the good health they had in their youth once they simply addressed this one key to better health. Not only that, this is actually associated with improved digestion, strong feeling joints and muscles, smoother skin, and healthier lives, meaning it could be the key to a happy life. Dr. Stephen Gundry has lost 70 pounds himself using his research and has kept the weight off for over 20 years and counting. His digestive issues are gone, his health is fantastic, and he feels younger and healthier today than he did in his 40s. His video has been watched by over 20 million people to date, and you can watch and learn more about it. And here's the link, folks, thehealthyfat.com /LA, thehealthyfat.com /LA. It's linked at the bottom of this video, but it'll teach you exactly how he has kept his weight off for free at thehealthyfat.com /LA. Folks, click on the link, and again, results may vary. I'm taking the vitamins that he's given me, and so far it's been good. And these are the claims of our sponsor, not necessarily those of Spiral of Life or L.A. Marzulli. So I'm going to do Giza first, and this is something that I just kind of put together, and I actually sent it to the scientist that I interviewed a week ago. I think we're up to like 29,000 hits on that view. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on our YouTube channel here. I sat down with two of the scientists who actually did the data and actually broke the story. Experts now even more confident that a vast city exists under Giza. So here's the deal, folks. What most people don't know, and was actually revealed in that interview with those two scientists, which again is on our YouTube channel right here. There were two different satellites in orbit created by two different companies. So you've got one satellite here, the other satellite here. These things are going over the planet. And they did this multiple times over Giza, over the Khafre period. It wasn't just like, well, let's just fly one satellite over and, oh, look what we got. They looked at the data. They did it numerous times. They will be holding a conference in July. More about that as soon as I find out more about it. It'll be up on our site. I am definitely going to attend that conference. It's over in Spain or Italy. I'm not sure where, but I think it's in either Spain or Italy. It's a Zoom deal. You pay $20 and you get access to it. I already emailed Francisco, who's sort of my go-between between myself and the team of scientists. So what I want to show you is, I think, very, very interesting. It's very preliminary. We can't go with it, but I find the correlation here extremely interesting, kind of whetting your appetite. So that interview I did with those guys, those scientists, was just incredible. So this is what is all over the internet. Scientists bombshell discovery under pyramids in Egypt. Experts stunned. Bump, bump, ball. Those are great. Let's grab the headlines, clickbait as it were. Allegedly, there are these spiral shafts that go down, way down, below Khafre, something like 2,000, I have it written here, 2,116 feet below the surface. So obviously, if we're looking at something like this, Egyptians had nothing to do with it, unless there's technology that we don't know that the Egyptians had. But are we looking at a hidden history? that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. So this, you'll notice the columns, they've got the spiral that goes down to them. Now, the information I passed on to Francisco, I should actually read you the email, but I don't need to. I can just kind of do it off the cuff here. Remember, Francisco is the liaison between myself and the team of scientists. So I sent the article to Francisco, and he basically said, wow, that's really interesting. Okay, so you'll notice here's the Khafre pyramid, and then you've got these spiral shafts that go down. Here's a better shot of it, so you can see these tubes with a spiral shaft. So LA, we know that. Where are you going with this? This is where I'm going with this. Look right here. Look right here. U.S. and Iran will meet for high-level, what? Nuclear talks, right? Nuclear talks. Look at that picture, and what do you see? You see a column with a spiral, just like this. See that? Look again. It's to the left center, but it's the most predominant column that's there. You see that? And then look at this again. Is there a correlation? Was the Giza plateau, was it in fact a power plant? Was there an ancient grid system that covered the planet? I believe that there was. Other researchers believe it too. But unfortunately, the powers that be say, oh no, this was all done by the Egyptians. Nothing you see here. There was no grid system. We're moving very slowly. There was no advanced technology thousands of years ago. This is it. I'm not buying that. Something happened here. I'll show it to you again. Here it is. Look at the columns. Supposedly there's 8. Look at the spiral. Look at the spiral here with a nuclear, what is it? These are centrifuges. Okay? I don't know. I find the correlation extremely interesting. Obviously, underline the word, more research needs to be done. We don't know what we're looking at. But I do find the correlation interesting, which is why I bring it up to you. I leave it in your hands. I'm not drawing any conclusions here. I'm not saying, oh my gosh, it's the same technology. I'm not saying it. I make it really clear. But I do find it interesting. And I know that, the naysayers out there, okay, fine, do what you're going to do. But here's the deal. Is it more than a coincidence? I don't know. But I do find this picture of Khafre and what may lie below the surface of Khafre extremely interesting. There are books about the Giza Plateau which talk about that this whole area was some sort of a power plant that powered the grid system over the rest of the planet. Again, it's speculation, and we don't know. But I will tell you this, in my opinion, and that of Gary Stearman, what we are looking at is this ancient civilization that was destroyed in the flood of Noah. The date for that, people can say it's, 5,000 years or whatever they want to say. Other people push back the flood to 10 or 12,000. I don't know. But I'm open to either side of the aisle. 12,000 years old, 10,000 years old, 5,000 years old. But this, I was at the Prophecy Watchers Conference coming up on 2 weekends ago now, and it was a great conference, by the way. I was on fire, and thank you guys for allowing me to speak, and thank you for making me a board member. That's quite an honor, and I take that very seriously. But Mondo and I were messing around with Chat GPT. And so I punched in, give me a Nephilim giant in a barren desert, and this is what I got. So it's like, isn't that interesting? Not sure about the tail piece, but whatever. So it's I'm not saying this is what the Nephilim look like, that they were hundreds of feet tall. I'm not saying, but this is purely for entertainment purposes. However, Gary Stearman and myself, and I know Mondo, believe that the pyramids of Egypt were constructed by the Nephilim. It is fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture, in our opinion. Now, there are some people say that, the pyramid is built by Enoch. Okay, I get that. You can hold that view. But everything is destroyed. The pyramids are destroyed. If it was pre-flood, and I believe it was pre-flood, then do other places like Sacsayhuaman, Ollantaytambo, the Silistani Towers, all in Peru, what we see all over the megalithic world, were they all connected? In my opinion, they were all connected on some level. We know that in Silistani, and I don't have a picture of it, but John Adam, you can Google Silistani Towers. We've already done several shows on it. You should have something. So here's a shot of the Silistani Towers. It's on the border between Peru and Bolivia. Lake Titicaca is close to it. And here's a great shot of it. And it's a tower. I've talked about this numerous times. So it's a tower. And in order to do it, I'm going to flip this over. It's kind of like this, where it's smaller at the bottom and wider at the top. So, and it's circular. You can see it here. So it begs the question. There's a great shot of it right there. I mean, how do you make something like this in the ancient world? It's also basalt, which is very, very hard to carve, to middle of nowhere. And you'll notice right here, something cataclysmic has happened to the Silistani Tower. The whole thing is blown out. What are those holes in the stones for? No one has a clue. People, Marty the archaeologists, say, oh, this is all funerary. We don't believe that for a second. The Inca came in and may have used it for burials, like we see all throughout the ancient world. Native Americans come in and they use these huge mounds and they intern their dead sometimes on top of those mounds, but they didn't build the mounds. They built the smaller ones, but not the larger ones. So here we've got the Silistani Towers right here. Absolutely humongous. And I've been there. We photographed it. We filmed there. It's very high altitude. I had altitude sickness a little bit, so it was kind of difficult moving around. But that gives you an idea of the Silistani Towers. And it goes back to the idea, was the Giza Plateau, was it a power plant? And once again, what we see here is that something very cataclysmic has come in Noah's flood and destroyed it. Just like when you go to Ollantaytambo, something very cataclysmic has thrown everything down. So that's basically it. My Giza update. And I'm really anxious to see what new information comes out in regard to what they discovered underneath Khafre. I believe the entire Giza Plateau was some sort of a power plant. I believe it's pre-flood. I believe that the Nephilim built it under the umbrella of fallen angels. Now, that's my opinion, folks, and I suppose I am stuck with it. So let's move on to the next one here.
Scientists claim to have brought a 12,500-year-old wolf species back from extinction. A Dallas-based biotech company has used gene editing and cloning technology to create 3 dire wolf pups. Popularized by HBO's Game of Thrones, Colossal Biosciences claims that these direwolf cubs have now become the world's first successfully de-extincted animal. Using genetic material from 2 direwolf fossils, the company was able to reconstruct the complete direwolf genome, ultimately creating cubs with distinctive direwolf features like white coats and longer, thicker fur. While Colossal claims to have brought this iconic species back to life, critics say that gene editing technology is still a long way off from being able to revive extinct species, and question whether the efforts are worth the benefits.
We don't have the technology to modify entire genomes. We can modify components of genomes, and we can certainly sequence genomes. So, yes, they have slightly genetically modified wolves, maybe. Does that make them direwolf? No. Does it make a slightly modified gray wolf? Yes. And that's probably about it.
What I do find interesting about this, from a biblical perspective, is this, that we know the dead in Christ will rise first. Okay? That, let me just get my thoughts together before I'll try to quote it here. The Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, the trump of God. The dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain will be caught up together with them in the clouds to greet the Lord in the air. And so shall we evermore be with the Lord. That's the rapture of a church. So if it says to be absent from the body is present from the Lord, but the body is in the ground. And the body is in the ground. We got that. But a person's spirit and soul is, if they're a Christian and they're born again and spirit-filled and they're renewed, their spirit and their soul are with the Lord, but the body is still on the ground. So let's go back. Let's say someone's been buried 2,000 years, but they were a Christian, and there's not much left. But there's still enough genetic information for the Lord to take that genetic information and create that body from that. How do we know that? Well, we just saw with the dire wolves. Now, he said we're not able to create the entire genome because we're not God, but we're kind of playing God here, aren't we? But they're able to take some of those attributes, genetic attributes, and put them in with a normal wolf. So what are we looking at here? From my perspective, this is a line. This is a line. Jesus warns us it will be like the days of Noah. We know that the fallen angels sinned against the animal kingdom. We know that. Read the book of Enoch. That's why, folks, if we were going to keep one book out of people's hands, out of the seminaries, don't read Enoch. And I've talked about this before, but I got to keep harping on it. Yet Jude quotes from Enoch. You don't quote from something unless it's part of you, part of your wheelhouse, who you are. And you remember back then, it's not like we've got laptops here. It's like, oh my gosh, we've got a laptop, LA. Look at this. All I have to do is type it in. Google will search for me and bink, and there you go. Well, that's not what we have 2,000 years ago. You got people in a scriptorium writing one word at a time. You had a scroll, which was worth a lot of money because somebody had to sit there by hand, and they were supervisors. So if someone was writing and there was a mistake, they would burn the scroll. Jude is quoting from Enoch. Jude is Jesus's half-brother. Now, I'm going to go down a rabbit trail, and I'm being glib here. It's tongue-in-cheek, but what if? You can't tell me I'm wrong, and I can't say, well, this is what happened. I'm just doing a what if. Jesus is the half-brother of Jude. Jude is writing his little book, okay? Think about this. Jude is quoting from Enoch. Is it possible? And you can see my face here. I'm just having fun with this, okay? I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm not saying that, but I'm having some fun with this. Is it possible that Jesus read the book of Enoch and then said to Jude, hey, you got to read this book. You might find it useful afterwards. I mean, it's just, and we don't know. I'm just having fun with it. What we do know is that Jesus' body lay in the tomb for 3 days. And then there was a burst of light, which created this image on the shroud. The napkin that was folded next to Jesus in that tomb became the Sudarium of Oviedo. We actually talk about this in our film, Holy Shroud, Holy Fire. And the Sudarium of Oviedo was the face cloth. In other words, when they took Jesus down from the cross, they wrapped his face out of respect to the dead. Anything that had his blood on it was then put back into the tomb, probably including the cross, but I digress. So the bottom line is you've got the Sudarium of Oviedo, the cloth folded up and in the tomb. That does not have this type of an image on it. It doesn't. But that cloth is in Oviedo, Spain, and has been there since the 7th century. When Secunda Pia took the image of the shroud, of the shroud's face, this is what came up. This is what came up. He almost dropped the glass plates. We talk about it in our upcoming film. This is what it looks like. And the scourge marks are incredibly brutal. The Shroud of Turin. With all that in mind, Jesus is the prototype. Jesus is the firstborn from the dead. Colossians tells us that. He's preeminent in all things, the firstborn of the dead. That's who he is. He's the firstborn of the dead. Fully God, fully man. How do you explain that? It's way beyond my pay grade. But the point I'm trying to make is Jesus warns us it'll be like the days of Noah. The fallen angels were sinning against the animal kingdom, creating chimeras. Now, in modernity, in the present day, we are taking genetic material and mixing the seed. We're doing that. Can the rapture be that far off? I don't know. Not a date setter, but maybe next Wednesday. The Shroud of Turin, in my opinion, is proof of the resurrection. So while scientists continue to try to raise the dire wolf, which has been extinct for 12,000 years or whatever, I just love these dates that they throw out. How do you know? How do you get 12,000? Please tell us. But I digress. But the Shroud of Turin, in my opinion, is forensic proof of the greatest moment in all of history. And that's the resurrection of the God-man, Yeshua, Jesus, the Messiah. There it is. The prototype of where we are all going for those of us who look to him. That's it for today, folks. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for watching. Here's Ashley to tell you about how you can order some of our products. And I would ask that you would do so because that keeps us doing what we're doing. Hit the subscribe button and I'll see you on the other end of the commercial.
Hey guys, I'm Ashley. Today I'm excited to introduce you to something extraordinary. L.A. Marzulli's 10 DVD set called UFO Disclosure. This is not just any collection, it's your key to uncovering the hidden truths about the UFO UAP phenomenon. Did you know that UFO whistleblowers have testified on the record that not only have we recovered crafts, but we have also retrieved non-human biologics? Let that sink in. The world is waking up to a reality long dismissed as science fiction. But what does it really mean? L.A. Marzulli and Gil Zimmerman, business partner and co-producer of these documentaries, have spent years uncovering the shocking truth behind the UFO UAP phenomenon. Now, in this exclusive 10 DVD set called UFO Disclosure, LA dives deep into what the mainstream media won't reveal. Close encounters of the first, second, third, and fourth kind, real-life accounts of people who have seen the occupants of these mysterious crafts, abductions, cattle mutilations, crop circles. What is truly happening behind the scenes? 2 films dedicated to the infamous Roswell crash of 1947, exploring the mysteries that have been shrouded in secrecy. And finally, his latest film, What is the Truth? Exploring the new UFO phenomena and the New Age connection. LA has interviewed top insiders Nick Pope, George Norrie, Gary Stearman, Mondo Gonzalez, and more. Experts who reveal why this might be the most significant event in human history. This is the coming Great Deception. Are you ready? Go to lamarzulli.com today and get your copy of LA's 10 DVD set called UFO Disclosure. Or for streaming, go to streaming.lamarzulli.net. Arm yourself with the truth before it's too late.
Well, folks, the good news is I'm really focusing on the YouTube channel here. I'm focusing on writing books, making films with my business partner, Gil Zimmerman, but we have canceled essentially 8 conferences this year. The Lord has redirected our steps. But there's also some other places that we'll be going, and I will be giving you more information on that as we move forward into the future. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button. Folks, remember that there is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why I am on the trail of the Nephilim.